Hi everyone, welcome back to another video in the Web Security Academy series. In today's video, we'll be covering lab number 19 in the cross-site scripting module titled Reflected XSS with some SVG, markup allowed. If you do not have an account on the Web Security Academy, you can get one by visiting the URL portsfigure.net/websecurity and clicking on the sign up button. I already have an account and I am logged in, so to access the exercise, I'm going to click on Academy. Select all labs, do a search and lab number 19 titled Reflected XSS with some SVG markup allowed. Let's select the lab. All right, let's get started. This lab has a simple reflected cross-site scripting vulnerability. The site is blocking common tags but misses some SVG tags and events. To solve the lab, perform a cross-site scripting attack that calls the alert function. All right, so the target goal over here is to perform a cross-site scripting vulnerability that calls the alert function. Let's access the lab. Now, notice over here, this is the built-in browser in Burp, and so all my requests are already being passed in my Burp proxy. Now, when I'm searching for cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, the first thing that I look for is input fields that are reflected back in the application. So I'm looking for client-supplied input like this search field right over here, where if I put in a string, let's say test, and I click on search, my input is reflected back in the application. So you could see over here, it is reflected back to me in the browser. And so this definitely needs to be tested for reflected cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. And we'll start off with a really simple test. So let's say script alert 1 and close off the script. All this does is essentially create a window or pop up a window that has the integer 1 in it. So let's click on search. And the application is a little bit slow, but you could see over here it says tag is not allowed. So this is interesting. It means that there is some kind of firewall or some kind of validation in the backend code that is checking for certain tags. And if it sees that you're using a certain tag, it says, well, maybe this person is trying to attack the application and it prevents you from performing the request. So what we're going to do is right-click on the request that we just performed and send it to intruder. Now, the reason we're doing that is because the script tag is not the only one that we can use in order to perform a cross-site scripting attack. And so we're going to test all the different possible tags. Let's remove all of this and just keep the script tag over here. So this is just the less than and the bigger than sign. And we'll add this as the variable that we want to enumerate. Now, in payloads right over here, we're going to add our list. And we get that by just Googling XSS cheat sheet Portswigger. So Portswigger has a really nice cheat sheet that contains all the different tags and all the different events that could potentially be used in order to perform cross-site scripting attacks. And it's updated very frequently. So you could see over here, today we're in June. However, this was updated just last month, so in March. So let's copy this tag over here, our list of tags, and paste them. Now, I am using the professional version of Burp because I do want my attack to go quickly for the video. However, if you're using just the free version, it will still work. It just will be heavily throttled. So the attack is going to take a little bit longer to perform than if you were to use the professional version. If you want it even faster, you could just write a Python script that tests each individual tag, and the one that doesn't give you, I believe, a 400 error message. So if we go back to proxy, and it was a 400 error code. So the request that doesn't give you a 400 error code, that means that tag is allowed. So let's go back to intruder over here and click on start attack. And this is just going to take a couple of seconds. All right, it looks like it's going to complete soon. Now what we're looking for is, again, an error code that is different from a 400 error code. So we're likely looking for a 200 status code. So let's click on status right over here. And here we go. So we can use animate transform, we can use image, we can use SVG, and we can use title. All of these work. So if we go down right over here and look at the different payloads that we could use. So let's go down and look for SVG. So you could see over here, you've got the option SVG, you've got the option SVG with animate, and then SVG with animate motion, SVG with animate transform, and SVG with set. So I could see over here, both SVG and the animate transform tags are allowed. So I'm just going to select this one because it's likely to be the one that will most likely work. So if we go down right over here, you could see there are 3 different ways that you could potentially perform a cross-site scripting attack. So the first one over here, it fires when an SVG animation begins. The second one fires when an SVG animation ends. And then the third one fires when an SVG animation repeats. So all 3 of them are likely going to work. So I'll just copy the first one and go back to the lab over here and paste it in our field. All this does is essentially when the SVG, again over here, it says when the SVG is fired up, all it does is it runs this JavaScript, and all the JavaScript does is alert on the number 1. So click on search, and here we go. Click on OK, and we should see the congratulations, you solved the lab message. All right, so we successfully completed the exercise by exploiting the cross-site scripting vulnerability. In the next lab, we'll look at another case of an XSS vulnerability.